is Stephen Ellis, our prospect analyst at Daily Faceoff. Does a great job. His top 100 rankings were posted on dailyfaceoff.com on Tuesday. Received a bunch of questions, Stephen, from some NHL GMs wondering how you come up with your list. I said, this guy's an absolute maniac, watches more hockey than just about anyone I know. So when you take a look at your top 100, who were some of the guys that rose the most or quickest on your list compared to the last time you did it?
Well, the guy that really all season long has been a huge riser is David Reinbacher, and a guy that a lot of people probably didn't have as a first round pick heading into the season, but just the way he just kind of exploded in the National League in Switzerland, which is a fantastic hockey league. I think a lot of people kind of underestimate how good the talent is there. But he was out there playing heavy minutes, sometimes power play, penalty kill. Like, he could do it all. And then we saw him at Austria at the World Championship where he was injured, missed some time. He only had 1 point, but I thought he looked very steady. That was not easy competition for a team like Austria that had to fight their way to even stay in the group to begin with. So I'm very impressed there. Another one there is Nick Lardis, a guy that, I got to see him a lot growing up. He's from Oakville, where I'm from, and seeing him kind of develop, it was great to see him have this incredible second half. He got traded at the deadline. Everything seemed to work for him. He was putting up some of the best offense we've seen, and a guy that, may have been a third line player to the point where some people are thinking, late first round, early second round. So that's another guy. Gabriel Perreault out of the U.S. National Development Team, now the leading all-time single-season scorer in U.S. National Development Team history. That includes beating guys like Austin Matthews, Patrick Kane,
Colby,
all those
Cohen.
players. Yeah, yes, very true. But
that was in the first week.
Yeah, for just to see Perreault kind of evolve from this guy that seemed to be the trailer, to be the third guy on that line, put up the points, but wasn't the one creating offense, to the second half, especially kind of down the stretch, where it seemed like he was way more confident, playing with a lot more poise, and just looked much, much better. I think that's a guy that really is going to shake things up in the draft.
Yeah, and I think Perreault is going to get a good opportunity to take his time at Boston College over the next couple of seasons and really develop. His dad, of course, works for the Blackhawks. Yannick Perreault was one of the best face-off men who ever played in the NHL. So we'll see how those guys sort of shape out. But, Stephen, my question for you, for teams picking in the bottom half of the first round, or maybe the last couple of picks of the first round, what player that's going to go late in that first round really has potential to become a number one center, winger, defenseman, a true star in the NHL?
Well, it's actually a guy that I didn't put in my first round, but someone I think definitely could be, and that is Oscar Fisker Molgaard, the Danish forward that played with HV71 in Sweden this year.
What a name.
Yeah, great name. And he just came off of the World Championship where he did have 0 points, but, he played, 13 minutes right off the bat, and he kept seeing his ice time grow throughout the tournament, which is positive. But, with the way he played, we have 7 points in 41 games. That's not a lot, but in the Swedish Hockey League, it's very hard to get ice time for a young player because they're trying to win. Their goal is to be the best, and that doesn't mean developing players a lot of the time. But, his defensive responsibility was incredible. His work ethic, incredible. Just there's so many of these raw skills where, there were a lot of, he was kind of just an unknown prospect really until, it was like elite prospects early in the season was like, check out this guy. And then everyone started to get on board with him. The NHL Central Scouting started to follow him too. So he's someone just, from a defensive responsibility side, he's not going to go out there and take dumb penalties. He's a very smart player. I think he's going to have a very good NHL career.
Stephen, and just to remind everyone too, your rankings are also different than the mock draft. So be curious to line those two up once we get to draft week. But wanted to ask you wrote a piece recently about overagers. Is someone on that list that really stands out to you?
Yeah, the one position that is always very interesting when it comes to overagers is goaltending, because you get more opportunity to really go out there and get more starts. A lot of the times the goalies that get drafted aren't even the starters on their own team. And that
More
actually
sample size.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually kind of the situation of Seattle where Thomas Milic plays, and goalie of the year in the WHL, undersized goalie, but he had 6 losses between the regular season and the playoffs. Right now, he's in the Memorial Cup with Seattle, a team that also has Scott Retzlaff, who is one of the top goalies for the NHL draft as well. But, with him, he just, ever since that kind of the World Junior Tournament, he's just been playing some of his best hockey. And for a guy who, he is 20, he is still eligible for the draft. He's 6 foot. He's not big, and that was kind of the reason why he kept falling. But I just think there's too much of a sample size at this point to say he won't get drafted. And I think teams are starting to learn their lesson that, maybe you got to go and look at that small goalie that's dominating the WHL, because so many teams made the mistake of not picking Dustin Wolf, who I will say this. I thought he was a second-round quality player at that draft. It was stupid that he fell to the 7th round, and I think this time teams will be making a mistake if they let Milic go undrafted.
So give me a one-word answer. Number of goalies drafted in round 1 this year.
0. I don't think there'll be a single one. I do expect a bunch to come in the 2nd round. There's just no true number 1 goalie this year. I think that's kind of the problem.
All right, I'm going to give you 2. I'm going to say 2. We'll see. I'll give you another number. 4. That is the number of weeks until round 1 of the NHL draft in Nashville. Can't wait to be there with Stephen Ellis. Thanks to Stephen for this week's edition of The Next Wave.